Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the August 15th, 2019 Forsyth County Board of Commissioners regular meeting and public hearings. At this time, I'd like to call us to order at 5:05 p.m. And I don't believe we have anybody here from the community to lead us in the invocation and pledge this evening. Commissioner Mills, would you like to do so?
I'll be glad to. Let us pray. Thank you, dear Lord, for today. Thank you, God, for the many blessings you bestow upon us. Thank you, God, for the many county commissioners that came the last 2 days to Central Park. Bless their counties. Bless them on their drive home. Thank you for our staff that worked so hard for this to come to fruition, and for giving us, Lord, a place like Central Park that people could come in and be able to all have a meeting together. God, I just thank you for all the many blessings you give us. Help us, God, to always be mindful of those. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alrighty, I'm going to start with Commissioner Levent. Do you have any changes to the agenda this evening?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to postpone new business 1A to September 5th.
Second.
We have a motion. I'm going to flip to that page real quickly here. You said new business number
1A,
1A to September
5th.
5th. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, or everybody please vote on that. All right, and that motion carries with a vote of 5-0 with item new business 1A being moved to September the 5th. Do you have any other changes to the agenda, Commissioner?
That's all I
Levent?
have, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Cooper, do you have any changes to the agenda this evening?
I do not, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Mills?
Do not.
Nothing. Commissioner Brown, I believe you have a change to the agenda this evening.
Madam Chair, I have one request to postpone old business 4, Nancy Bentley, ZA 3807, until September 19th, 2019.
Second, we have a motion and a second to move to postpone old business number 4. And that date again was the
September 19th.
September 9th?
19th.
19th. Thank you for that. 2020. That's funny. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0 and is postponed until September 19th.
Can I ask Counselor a question real quick? Counselor?
If it has to do with agenda review.
It does. Nancy Bentley has been postponed, might be a record. What happens when we hit the all-time record?
There'll be a award ceremony, a formal one.
I just want to make sure we
yes,
get
sir.
Mr. Brown
There
a
will.
plaque.
Isn't there a
There will.
cake also, a cake?
Yeah, it's going to involve ribbons and large scissors. It's going to be a
Thank
big
you,
deal.
sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other changes from Commissioner Brown?
No, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I have one as well. Old business number 2. We would like to have postponed until September the 5th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Commissioner Cooper? And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0 with item old business number 2 being postponed until September the 5th. Eric Johnson, County Manager, do you have any changes to the agenda? Thank you. And Tim Merritt?
Madam Chair, I do not have any changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. I believe you have some changes or a change.
Madam Chair, I have 3. The first thing I would like the board to consider is adding as new business number 3, on a time-sensitive basis, a resolution authorizing the commencement of county disposition of certain property. I have handed you a resolution for you to take a look at, but this is a parcel of property, tax parcel 125030 on Canton Highway, and I'd like the board to take that up on a time-sensitive basis.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That item has now been added as new business number 3.
Madam Chair, board members, the next item I would like the board to consider is something just a little unusual, but this is actually to modify some language in your consent agenda, specifically consent agenda item 7L.
Will that require removing it from consent to do so, or can we do it while it's still on
You
consent?
can do it while it's on consent. So 7L is board directions for staff to prepare and proceed with the preparation as necessary for a negotiated sale process for the upcoming water and sewer utility bond and to utilize Citibank for underwriting. I would like to add, Madam Chair, to that, and to authorize the chair to execute a G17 letter in favor of city.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that language has been changed.
And that will stay on consent, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
I have one final item, and this is simply a reordering of the agenda. Currently, board members, we have 2 administrative hearings. I do believe that one of the administrative hearings, we will be utilizing the services of an interpreter. Is there an interpreter here? Did I understand that incorrectly, Madam Chair? I thought there
That was my understanding as well. Is that party here?
It
The
may
people
have
who were
been,
here
they
for
may
the
be out in the
administrative
hall
hearing?
still.
This would be Hong Chin Ma? Okay, are you gonna use the services of an interpreter for your hearing? You
No.
are not? Okay, thank you very
Okay.
much. All right, Madam Chair,
It
then I
may
don't
have
need.
been, is Yan Massage?
It's actually Yan Massage, yes. It's the
Is
second.
it the other one?
That is correct. It's
she's there.
Fanny Chu. That's the one that requested a translator.
And
Okay.
did she bring a translator is your translator here? Yes?
So the lady in the middle toward the back is nodding her head, so it must be her?
That it was her.
Okay.
And he is here. Okay, thank you. So it's administrative hearing number 2 that we're considering?
Well, Madam Chair, I mean, I was going to suggest moving it to the front of the public hearings just to have the interpreter be able to provide their services and leave, but if they're not here yet, I don't
Well,
want to.
that's what I was trying to determine. She was nodding her head. I don't know if maybe that's the gentleman that's in the vestibule.
Madam Chair, might we then have just a motion by the board that we will take that administrative
arrives.
hearing as soon as the interpreter surfaces?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second to hear that administrative hearing upon the arrival of the interpreter. Please vote. And that motion does carry with a vote of 5-0.
That's all I have, Madam Chair.
We will
Thank you.
hear that on the fly. Is somebody going to notify us when they do arrive? Thank you very much. Okey dokey. Is there a motion then, if there's no further changes, do we have anything from staff? Mr. Brown? Mr. Kennard? Adopt the agenda as amended.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And the agenda is now adopted. We have a presentation this evening. Commissioner Mills is going to present for Overdose Awareness Day. So I will hand it over to you at this point. You want to
I will, and if Heather Hayes
have it out?
like to come up. This is a proclamation by the Board of Commissioners for Forsyth County, Georgia. Whereas addiction is an American Medical Association defined disease and the stigma associated with addiction must be addressed so that no one feels shame or disgrace over legal or illegal drug poisoning overdose. And whereas drug poisoning overdose is the #1 cause of injury deaths in the nation, with an accidental drug overdose death occurring every 4 minutes, surpassing deaths from motor vehicle accidents or gun homicides. And whereas according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, 72,287 people died in the United States as a result of a drug poisoning overdose, or 201 per day during 2017. That's the most current reporting year. And whereas according to the Attorney General of Georgia, in Georgia from June 16 to May of 17, the total number of opioid doses prescribed to Georgia patients surpassed 541 million. That is approximately 54 doses for every man, woman, and child in Georgia. And whereas Georgia is among the top 11 states with the most opioid overdose deaths, and 55 Georgia counties have an overdose rate higher than the national average, 55 Georgia counties. Whereas according to the 2018 Georgia Student Health Survey, 103 students in grades 6 through 12 reported using heroin once within the last 30 days, and 93 students reported daily use. Also, 56 students reported taking a painkiller, an opioid, that was not prescribed to them. And an additional 40 students reported daily use of a painkiller that was not prescribed to them. Talk about depressing. Whereas Forsyth County, Georgia remains committed to raising awareness in order to combat stigma and educate our community about prescription drug poisoning and overdose prevention. Now therefore, the Forsyth County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim August 31st, 2019 as Overdose Awareness Day in Forsyth County, Georgia, and urges all residents to learn about this disease and to aid and support those that are affected by it. And it's signed and sealed by the Board of Commissioners. Do you want to add anything, Heather?
I just want to say it's the third year in a row that we've declared National Overdose Awareness Day, and I'm really grateful and appreciative. It's a terrible epidemic, and my hope is that Forsyth County can become a county where people want to move, not only because of our excellent school system and, you know, a great zip code and everything that we've got, but that because it's a county that really raises awareness, cares about our children, and treats addiction the right way. So
And
that's
I'm proud of our board for the way that our board has stepped up, and we have that counselor at Gateway that I think's really going to make a difference. And now with the connection, which is like the zone,
Yep.
and hopefully by supporting people and offering them a place for recovery, it will make a difference.
I travel and work all over the country, all over the world. I've been to Cincinnati and back today, and but I am proud to be to live in Forsyth County.
Thank you for all you do. I will.
This is Heather's personal picture. Here you go. All right, big smile.
Yeah, I should have said you're on the TV show Intervention. I forget you're a TV star.
Yes.
My episode is going to be next week.
Oh, it is.
Oh, awesome. Unless the commissioners have anything to add for special announcements this evening, I'm going to have Karen read the rules of the meeting and announce any public speakers that we may have.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the board. I'd like to take a moment to review the meeting procedures. We ask that you please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. Those who would like to speak during public comments should complete a public comment form, which is available just outside this room. Information regarding specific requirements to address the board is listed at the podium. Please state this information prior to speaking. All comments should be directed to the entire board and not to a particular commissioner. There are 2 public comment opportunities during the meeting for speakers to make a verbal presentation to the board, one now and one prior to old business. The number of speakers is limited to 10 now and 10 at the second portion. Speakers are selected on a first-come basis and are heard in the order in which they signed up, with the exception that Forsyth County residents are heard first, with non-county residents to follow until the allotted time has expired. We have no speakers currently signed up for this first public comment section. If anyone wishes to address the board, please come forward at this time. I see none, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Then we will go ahead and move on about our business this evening. Is there a motion to adopt the regular meeting and public hearings and executive session minutes of August the 1st, 2019?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. That motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Is there a motion to approve the work session and executive session minutes of August the 6th, 2019?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Again, that carries with a vote of 5-0. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the special called work session from just a couple days ago on August 13th, 2019?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0 as well. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda as annotated or as amended?
So
moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. And that carries 5-0, and I assume Ken didn't make any interjection, so I assume that was kosher.
It was, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. So now we're going to move into our public hearings. I would like to have Karen again read the requirements for the public speakers during public comments, and then we'll move on.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For the public hearing portion of the meeting, each side, those in opposition and those in support, have 10 minutes to speak. Those who would like to speak should complete a public hearing form, which is available just outside this room. Please fill out both sides and submit your form to the clerk when approaching the podium to speak. If there's more than one speaker for each side, the available time will be divided among the speakers. We'll provide a verbal reminder when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining.
Thank you. Public hearing number 1. Tom.
CP 190026. This is located in Commission District Number 5. It's a public hearing for a county-initiated request for a conditional use permit to operate a vehicle sales dealership in an existing building on 2.79 acres of property currently zoned CBD. The applicant's also requesting a variance to reduce the zoning buffer from 40 feet to 10. The property is located on Browns Bridge Road.
Thank you. Just for clarification, that variance of that side buffer is against ag property?
I'll need to check that.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing on this anyway. Is there a motion to open this public hearing?
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're open with a vote of 5-0. If there's anyone who is here to speak in favor of this county-initiated conditional use permit application, please come forward at this time.
Madam Chair, I do know that there are interested parties that are here. I don't know that they necessarily want to come and speak in favor, but I think they are
Okay.
here to answer questions if the board has any questions.
Okay,
on what
I'm
is
planning
intended.
to, once we exit the hearing, I'm planning to lean on you quite a bit, because this is a little unusual in why this was done, and I think perhaps actually the commissioner from District 4 may have helped with some of these conditions, because originally it was in District 4. We thought it was staying within District 4, and it's actually bumped across the line into 5, so we're gonna have to work through that, because I know it's a result of some GDOT and some road widening stuff. Alrighty, if there's no one here to speak in favor, is there anyone who is here to speak in opposition to this application? Alrighty then, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're closed with a vote of 5-0. Ken, as I said before, I'm gonna kind of hand this over to you to explain kind of why we're doing this.
Right, Madam Chair. So this action is actually the byproduct of the project to add the interchange at 369. One of the catalysts that led to the county wanting to take this action was one of the impacted businesses basically endeavoring to cooperate with the county and attempt to relocate their business, but upon finding the parcel that they wished to relocate the business to, it was determined that to locate the business there, they would in fact need a conditional use permit. Interestingly, at the same time as we were exploring the so-called, how about landing site, the site where this business would land, we also identified that the existing user of that same land needed a conditional use permit, and so under the auspices of never leave an opportunity unaddressed, the notion was let's go ahead and, in the interests of facilitating as much mitigation as we can with respect to the interchange project on 369 and otherwise cleaning up the land use that was already existing and improper under our code, that we would initiate this conditional use permit application and hopefully address two birds with one metaphorical stone. So that is the rationale behind what is occurring this evening, and I think that if the board has specific questions on what in fact sort of use would be moved onto this property, I believe there is a speaker here that would be prepared to discuss that with the board.
Okay, and I just want to clarify that I know that there was some shifting that was going around, and there were some people we originally thought were going to be displaced that then were able to not be displaced by that project. because there was a different access point made available to the property. Is that not the case with this particular one?
No, I think that's still the case here, but I think that was a temporary solution that abated the immediacy. I mean, there was an
Okay.
immediate need, but I don't think us finding the temporary fix.
Long-term is not.
Correct. We're still
Okay.
looking for a long-term final. So no, your recollection is correct, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And I think I may have misspoke or misguessed on that the conditions actually, were they a product of bringing this into compliance with our current UDC as far as the screening requirements, landscape strips, those types of things? We've taken the opportunity now that we're moving them to bring them into more compliance. Was that the source
In
of these
part, yes.
conditions?
That buffer reduction is on the A1 property that's located to the southwest of this property.
And so these recommendations are actually coming back from staff as far as these additional conditions 1 through 10 that we see in the red lines are comments. I guess they appear as comments, but they would be binding should we make this. Would they be
Right, the
binding?
staff comments will be-
Would I need to call them out as actual conditions, Ken, is my question, if we move forward with this? Because they're in our red lines as proposed site plan with setback requirements, and these are comments that were provided by the county arborist.
Madam Chair, if these are going to be a part of the conditions of the conditional use permit, I might recommend that we put them up on the screen,
I
and
would
when you
like to
make
do
your
that.
motion, they be incorporated.
Thank you. I'd like to have those displayed on the screen, please, while we're talking through this. Are there any comments or questions from the board on this application? Get those up here.
I definitely didn't know your district went that far. You're lying.
I'm telling you, I got a crazy, it's parts. I got north, south, and central Forsyth. If it's east, it's in there. Thank you. And so when I'm referring to our red lines, just for reference, those items that you see under public hearings that are enumerated 1 through 10 are those that we're speaking to. They show up as comments in our red lines, but I would like them to be considered as conditions if we are going to move forward on this. Ken, do you think it's valuable for us to bring those parties forward to give us any further information to consider at this time?
I think it might be helpful just for the record. I don't think it's going to be,
Okay.
earth-shattering what you're going to hear, but I think I've explained it, but it might be helpful to hear his side of it.
Let's do that then.
Right.
Let's do that for the record. Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. So what can you tell us? What's about the business, your current location, and the need for you to move into a location that now requires the conditional use permit that you do not have to operate there?
Well, as council had advised, this particular parcel was for the taking for the new overchange.
Mm-hmm.
And so we attempted a couple of relocations, as he stated, as well, and those were not able to happen. So I think on a temporary standpoint, with this already zone CBD and all that current business currently operating there under the same premise, we are a dealer-to-dealer internet remarketing company. So I don't know if you have any questions or what we do or what, I'm not sure.
So you're not a traditional lot with a big sea of
No, they're
vehicles
an
up in the
auction.
front.
No,
bring
we're
them in
an
once
auction for dealers, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Madam Chair, just for the record, could you ask the speaker for his name? And
Oh, I'm
forgive
sorry.
me?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry,
Just let
Jim
him walk
Smith
right
is
up.
my name. Jim Smith. You're welcome.
Okay. Board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Smith? Okey dokey.
Mr. Smith, you don't think this will be a permanent location, though? You think this is just a temporary?
Well, I would like to think that. I mean, our business is growing, and I would like to think that would it can only handle so many with the landscape and where it is. So,
Branding of the cup doesn't, it travels with it, but if he moves, he's gonna have to go through this process again,
Right.
so.
At least it'll help you now.
yes,
Right.
ma'am.
Madam Chair, I do have one question when the board is finished.
Yes, sir.
So all of this makes sense to me. Of course, the application includes 2 tax parcels. One is the existing tax parcel where there's the existing building that staff identified needed to have this corrective action. And then, of course, I think your business is going to be on the second tax parcel directly contiguous to the other one, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so one of the things that is being asked in addition to just the cup, there is a variance to reduce a zoning buffer from 40 feet to 10 feet. And I'm looking at the site. I just didn't understand what buffer and where and why. I'm just curious.
I'm not familiar with any buffer. I was not aware of that was
There was a need, that there was a request for a variance?
correct.
Do we have the site plan over there to put up on the screen? Maybe that can
I
make-
don't
help
have a
make
site
sense
plan.
of
I'm
it.
looking at a GIS image of it.
Tom, do you have
Well,
any comment on that?
we have a site plan, because it was county initiated. I think the
Right.
best thing we'll have is the aerial image that's in the,
What was the need for that? For that, is it buffering onto his own property?
I wondered,
reduction in that?
Well,
Mr. Brown is, oh, forgive me, go ahead.
I mean, they're adjacent to the church.
Okay.
The church is zoned A1.
Okay,
They're zoned CBD. So they've got a code requirement for a 40-foot buffer on their property along that A1 property line. I don't know who requested the variance. It was a county-initiated product. So at some point, someone involved with the relocation approached the commissioner and must have asked for that.
approach this, Commissioner.
Okay, well, it's not a
I don't
staff
remember
requirement.
the
staff would-
variance.
I don't either. That's why I was raising it.
staff
I
would
just,
prefer
Yeah,
the
'cause I
the
think
buffer.
that's, preliminarily, we thought this was not gonna end up across the line, so I don't,
Maybe for the use he's needing,
I hate
I
to.
don't know. I have no idea.
I hate to come back to the well if he needs it, or if it's needed though, because this was
Yeah.
all about some exigency was driving this.
right.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, I agree. I don't mean to get in the way of it. I just wanted
Right.
to raise it.
If it weren't, I mean, if it'd be up against the house, it'd be different. If it's up against the church, I think,
It's not
I
a
mean, it'd be
0 buffer,
fine.
it's a 10.
yeah.
All right, if you wanna put the conditions back up on the screen, I'll go ahead, or the,
You don't do your auction
comments.
on Sunday mornings or, I mean,
Well,
where it would be
we are
interfering
there
with the
for
church.
roughly around 4 hours for the whole week, and that's on Wednesdays, 2 o'clock. Yeah.
Okay.
would you be okay with an additional condition that would state that you would not have activity there, you would not have auction activity on Sundays?
Absolutely, yep.
Let's go ahead.
That'd be good.
I'd like to go ahead and add an 11th condition there, that no auction activity shall take place on Sundays.
I think
That
it'd be
would make
better
my pastor very happy, I'm sure, as well.
Or just say no car sales activity.
Well, no auction or vehicle sales.
Yeah.
How about that? Or on-site vehicle sales, because they're an internet business. They may
That's
sell a
right.
car on Sunday, so let's get specific there, right? All right, so that condition then would read, no auction or on-site vehicle sales activity shall take place on Sundays. So with that in mind, with the condition that I just read, along with the additional 10 conditions that are outlined there, they're phrased as comments from the arborist. I would like to make those conditions of that and move for approval of the county-initiated request for a conditional use permit to operate vehicle sales dealership in the existing building property currently zoned CBD, and we're referring to this CUP as CP 190026, taking place on parcels 239051 and 239061, with the variance that is also stated herein.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. You're not going to come back to me on that one, are you? Ken, I did it. I got it.
Madam Chair, I think that covered every base.
Okay.
So how soon, is he done now? He can start,
He's done.
The land is now appropriately zoned for him to conduct his business. Now, what issues he may have with the private owner of the business, that's between him and them, but the land use is over.
They have some permitting to do.
you'll be seeing Tom Brown in planning with your permitting.
Well said, yeah.
All right, thank you. Public hearing number 2. This is Ken.
Madam Chair, board members, public hearing number 2 this evening is a resolution that will be extending until February 14th of 2020 an existing moratorium on the acceptance of applications for rezoning to a Res 2 conservation zoning designation. this is the last moratorium the Board of Commissioners has in place right now, so some ticker tape ought to fly. In any event, this would be while the Board of Commissioners and planning staff are drafting modifications to our conservation subdivision UDC provisions. This was a moratorium originally put in place on April 18th of 2019, and since we are extending, we do need to have a public hearing this evening. Madam Chair?
Thank you. Is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. We're now open with a vote of 5-0. If there is anyone who is here to speak in favor of extending this moratorium, please come forward at this time. I'm seeing none. If there's anyone who is here to speak in opposition to this moratorium, this is also your time to come speak. All righty then. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're closed with a vote of 5-0.
Madam Chair, I have a question on this matter. Mr. Underwood, there was a time that you were working on, I guess, the Waite property and the potential swap with the GDOT land so we could extend our greenway up to Bethelview. Did your client ever file for a Res 2 conservation easement?
It is still pending, yes, sir. So it's already in the hopper.
So this is not going to affect that?
I don't think it would be
Okay.
subject to this.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm fine. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Right. Commissioner Cooper, you may have some comments on this.
We've been working on this, and we've been meeting regularly, planning and development, myself, as well as my planning and development person, Carrie Hill. We're also pulling together a committee. I have a meeting tomorrow, speaking with one of those possible stakeholder committee members. We're trying to do this right, and we want to make sure that when we get this done, that baseline, we are protecting natural resources, and this will be an asset to the county and something that everyone can be very proud of and will meet the needs of conservation in the truest sense.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from any other board members? What's the pleasure of the board on this?
Make a motion to extend the moratorium to the February 14, 2020 date.
And your motion includes the resolution?
Includes the resolution,
Thank you.
sir.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. We are extended until February 14th.
Madam Chair, as a point of order, I believe the interpreter is here.
Okay, thank you. In that case, we will, as advertised earlier in our agenda adoption, move on to hear one of our two scheduled administrative hearings.
Be
That would be
administrative hearing
number two.
Yes, ma'am.
This business is located in Commission District Number 5. This is administrative hearing in reference to violations of the massage and spa ordinance for Yan Massage LLC, located at 4415 Front 9 Drive, Suite 200. Name licensee is Fan Yi Shu. In this case, the owner was issued citations for violations under Section 22-230K, 22-230N, and 22-230B. There have been 3 citations issued to the business within 24 months.
Thank you. Is there a motion to open the administrative hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're open. Counselor.
Madam Chair and board members, Ken Gerard, the county attorney. At this point, I think it would be appropriate for the name licensee, Fan Yu Shu, to ask to come forward and possibly take a position down here right next to the board. There are some documents I need to provide her.
Forward. Up front.
So you'll be interpreting for me to the name licensee? And could you come up here, please? Both of you come up. For purposes of the record, would you mind stating your name first?
Timothy Cho, CHO.
And could you introduce us to the name licensee, please?
Sure. 你什么名字？你跟大家讲一下。
翻译许。
Issue Fan.
So, Madam Chair, we are here today
今天我们进来的目的是
concerning 3 violations of the massage spa
你在
ordinance.
这里面有3次的违规。
And as the board is
我
used
这届的
to,
董事会呢，
I typically
通常
perform in sort of a document
我有一
distribution
些拿的
function
文
at
件出来
first.，
首先会把文件给各位看的。
So the first thing I want to
第一
do
次
on
我
the
给大家看
record
的是
is I want to provide
我
the
先
name
给大家
licensee
先
some
我们的
documents
拿执照的人名字，
that I am going to also tender into the record.
我会把它称为一个证据。
I do this
我这样做的目的
because
是因为
this is in the nature
也就是这样子的一个性质，
of an administrative appeal.
本来就是一个我们行政会的一个程序。
And if there is a challenge, we need to
那
have
如果
created a
对
record.
我们如果有任何的挑战的话，我们要记录出来的。
So I'm going to
所以我
give
现在给
Ms. Shu
你是曲小姐，
a copy of the
把这个
documents,
给你。
if you don't mind. And let me tell you what that is.
我跟你讲这是怎么回事。
That is a copy of the Forsyth County Massage Ordinance,
这是我们这个呈现里面的一个规
and
则，
it is a copy of the magistrate court record
也是因为我们
involving these
因为在
citations.
这里面有跟你开法庭的时候，我们有地方法院也在里头的。
You all can sit down just for a moment.
Thank you，你可以请坐一下。
Madam Chair, the documents I just tendered to the name licensee, I would also like the chair to reflect that these are going to be tendered into the clerk as part of the record this evening.
Thank you. And we have acknowledged receipt.
So with respect to this portion of the hearing, I have tendered into the record the ordinance as well as the magistrate court dispositions with respect to these citations. These did result in either a plea or an adjudication of guilt at the magistrate court. That occurred on June 20th of 2019. As our planning staff indicated correctly, there were 3 citations. There was a citation for 22-230N, which is improper touching. A citation for 22-230B, not keeping adequate records, the sign-in sheets. We've had that in front of us before, not necessarily with this applicant, but you're familiar with that. And 22-230K, which was inadequate lighting. There are 2 reasons this is in front of you. Number 1, as you know, under our ordinance, due cause can mean 3 citations within 12 months. They satisfied due cause because they had 3 citations in 1 month. In addition to that, the failure to adequately maintain records is automatic due cause. So they were going to be up in front of you for 2 reasons, not just 1. With respect to sanctions, that is, of course, within the province of the board, but I do want to let the board know that you have the full range of options this evening, and based upon my understanding of the ordinance. You have the right to warn. You have the right to place on probation. I will note for the board that if you place one of these spa businesses on probation, you can actually tailor how they have to operate their business while they're on probation. You can only place a business on probation for 36 months. You could suspend the license, or you could revoke. Madam Chair, that is my presentation. Obviously, the names licensee is here with a translator. Law enforcement are here if there's any questions, but that is my presentation this evening to you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to have the licensee come forward with your interpreter and give us your side of the story.
Yes,
Madam Chairman, that I have operated this business already for 4 years. I haven't had any violation in the past 4 years. Would you please give me another chance? Be lenient to my situation, please.
What changes have you made in your business practices to address these issues?
刚才他跟你提出来这3个问题里面，你怎么样做了哪些改变？这3个违规，你做了哪3种改变？
第一个就是客人来的时候就登记。
Yeah, we comply with the ordinances. The first one that we record every customer coming to our massage parlor.
第二个就是我已经把房间内所有的灯都按照规定调到了40度。
Secondly, that I already changed all those lights. I changed them into 40 watt instead of the lighting was too dark.
还有就是我是以后按照那个规定，不就是就什么 no touch， 要规范。
Right. Yeah, I told the people who work there and also the managers, the managing staff that to obey these ordinances and not to have anybody with this improper touching occurs again.
What is the person who was in violation of that part of the ordinance? Are they still in your employ?
对，那个人就是被人家开了的这个女士，还在继续在你那边上班，还是已经被开除了？想知道这个情况。
开除了。
Yeah, already. This is already been fired of our from our business.
Is there anything else you want to add?
除此之外，还有没有要再增加一些什么东西要让我知道的？
我们每天早上都给员工开例会，每天要重复这些，按照文件规定来规范。
Now, since we already having this bad things happens, we instructed our employees every day that we do it every day, daily, that we instruct them for these 3 things we violated. We want to comply to the city.
I mean, that's a significant number of things. It leads me to believe that you don't have a full understanding of our entire ordinance. Particularly if you reference that you're speaking to your employees about these 3 issues, our ordinance is much more comprehensive than that. And I have concerns that you have not taken the time over these 4 years to make yourself familiar with what the ordinance requires of your business.
你只讲这3个，重复这3个，好像没有听懂这么厚的一本的规章里面这么多东西，这样看起来好像我觉得不太能同意你的要求，因为你所讲的只有这3条，我们这个涵盖的过程，而且你开了超过4年了，涵盖的东西不止这3个东西而已啊。
是我那个店，把那个不该遮挡的窗帘儿、门帘儿都撤掉了。
Yeah, we also remove all those curtains and those blinds. We already remove all those something that improperly.
和我每一个员工，包括我在内，在工作的时间穿的衣服要规范，都已经规范了。
And the clothing that we were wearing, including myself and also the employees, that we already do everything compliance with the board's request or the ordinance according to the ordinances.
Any other questions from the board? I mean, you may have some questions about record keeping or.
If you don't mind, I'd like to hear the state make their case. The deputy would come forward and tell us what took place.
The state?
That's how it
I've got
works.
one
They
question.
represent.
I've got one question. If-
他有个问题想问你。
Laura, I've got one question.
Go right ahead, please.
On your lighting, was the entire place not lit properly, or was it just one room?
你当时被开罚单的时候是只有某些地方灯光不够，还是所有的地方都不够灯光？
是每个房间的灯光不够。
Yeah, the lighting in each little separate rooms, they were not. They did not have enough lighting.
我以前的那个房间灯光是可以调暗调亮的，我现在都给它变成上下动的
Right,
那
used to
种。
be. Yeah, used to have those. The switch you can turn lighter and darker, and now we change it into the just switch, just straight switch up and down, not the rotation type. 谢谢你。
Commissioner Levent, did you have something?
Be here that made the
警
case.
察，他问这个警察这边有没有什么样子的？
Commissioner Levent, a supervisor with knowledge of the case is here, and if the Board of Commissioners has questions for law enforcement, there is someone here that can answer those questions.
I would like to hear
警察有。
the scenario of when they went in and how they made their citations and their determinations to make them.
That would be in order, so the licensee and interpreter can take a seat.
一起做一下，
in
对。
Okay? Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Sergeant Tom Little. I'm with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, and I'm currently assigned to the Judicial Enforcement Section, which my supervisory is the Warrant Unit, our Fugitive Squad, the Ordinance and Permits, which is Ordinance Enforcement, as well as Civil Units. I am familiar, was present during the operation. I organized and led this operation. I can tell you from our perspective what happened, if you like.
Please.
On May 7th, at about just before 5 p.m., we were doing multiple undercover compliance inspections, checks with multiple massage businesses throughout the county. We sent an undercover officer into the location. He was met by the licensee, Miss Fengyi Xu, behind me, who brought him into the back room. He did sign in while she watched, and then he was taken to a room where he undressed and got onto the table, covered himself up with a sheet, and waited for a massage. During the course of the massage person was Miss Fengyi Xu, which is disputed. She says the person was fired. She is the person who did the fondling. Miss Fengyi Xu, during the course of the massage, did grab the genitals of the undercover officer in a masturbation-style move. The officer gave a code word, and we were able to enter the business, stop the operation, and actually secure him, separate all the parties, and begin our investigation. What we found when we went in there, in addition to the allegations of the inappropriate touching, fondling, and I'll say exposing, of which you're not allowed to expose the genitals of somebody on the table, you're not allowed to expose yourself to anybody. The room was dark. It had multiple lighting sources. There was a rotary dial to dim the lights. The problem in this room was the ceiling lights were turned off completely, and there was a sconce on the wall that did provide some illumination, but was not attached to the dimmer. So the true ceiling lights were out, and then there was just like a mood lighting in the room. There were multiple other subjects in the business, customers in other rooms. We did not have any information that they were there doing anything illegal. However, none of them were signed in. So the other citation for the not logging people in was for another employee who was there that day. She was given and found guilty of one other of the citation for no record keeping. So Fengyi Xu is the fondling as well as the lighting, and the other one that made the 3 in one day.
Thank you for the clarification.
In the 4 years that they have been in business, I mean, how many times do you think they've probably been checked?
They have had undercover operations done there before. I will say probably quarterly uniformed compliance inspections. There's different types. We visit all of our massage places just like this, come in, and we do ordinance inspections. It is not always as common with less frequent basis do we do undercover operations, and this one was that type of operation for compliance.
Have you ever been there to do the undercover operation in the last 4 years? Or is this your first one?
Let me confirm before I answer that.
Thank you.
We actually I came from our narcotics unit where we did vice on that side, and I'm not sure, I would ask somebody who's been in ordinance for that many years, have we done UC in this operation? In 4 years, we have.
Yes.
Do you know how many times?
I don't know an exact number. We've done a couple.
Okay. For me, the most disturbing part is that there's allegations that she didn't tell the truth, nobody was fired, and it was actually the owner itself.
That was my concern, and
That to me is not a good thing.
that's why I asked what occurred with the employee, and I was happy to have the information from the officer, because that to me does not bode well for a successful interactions in the future.
Madam Chair, if you have heard all you need to hear from law enforcement,
Yes.
if not, that's fine, but if you have, I do think it's appropriate that the
They
licensee
can
get.
rebut, absolutely.
I agree.
I will allow for that, and I just want to make sure all of the commissioners have been able to ask all the questions they'd like. Commissioner Brown, did you have any questions, or Ms. Cooper? No, all right.
Thank you, Sergeant.
I think
You're
we're
welcome.
good. Thank you so much. If you'd like to come forward and dispute any of the comments that were made by law enforcement, you may certainly do so.
Explain how you fired yourself.
All right, thank
No
you.
rebuttal.
All right, is there a motion to close this administrative hearing?
So moved.
Second.
A motion is second, please vote.
Madam Chair, may I, just one more from a procedural perspective, may I have a little bit of leave here?
Yes, sir.
If the licensee and the applicant, could you approach one more time? I have one question I need to ask you. Have you heard everything that has occurred this evening?
今晚上所说的每一件事情，你都有听到了吧
是的，
？Yes。
Were you able to hear the comments by the officer?
那特别是刚才那些警察他们所讲的话，你听到了吧
是的，
？Yes。
Were you able to hear all of the questions from the Board of Commissioners?
所有的我们的委员们所讲的问题，这两个人所发问的问题，你都有听到啊。
是的，
Yes。
And you have understood these proceedings this evening?
晚上的这个程序你都了解啊。今天做这个听证的程序你都有了解吧
是的。
？Yes。
Thank you both. And Madam Chair, that's all the questions that I had.
All right, thank you. Is there any discussion amongst the board members? All right, I think all of as Commissioner Cooper said, all of our questions have been answered. I think the extent, the sheer number of these offenses all in one day is one issue, but I don't have a confidence that there's a full understanding of our ordinance, and in that they're not disputing the officer's recollection that they have in fact provided us with false information during the course of this hearing as to who was actually charged with the most egregious of these offenses. I would like to move to revoke this license.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0.
For
revocation.
For purposes of the record, that is the end of the hearing, and so your attendance is not required. You're happy to remain, of course, but as far as the hearing, it is over.
Thank you. All right, we will return to our regularly scheduled business, at least for a moment here. We do have public hearing number 3 is the next on our list, but I am not seeing the parties who have been diligently hammering out some last-minute details on this, and I don't know that I want to open the public hearing without hearing from them. I might want to have somebody kind of check on their progress. And if it's okay with everyone, I'd like to go ahead and move that item behind our next public comments section. While we have a chance to, we'll move that forward, and we'll go kind of check in and see where we are with that, if that's okay. I have a motion to swap the order of public hearing number 3 and our second public hearing, public comments section.
Second.
You have a motion and a second, please vote. All right, it's probably not a stall tactic that's gonna work, because we didn't have anybody for public comments the first time. Karen, if you can please announce the public comment speakers if there are any.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. We're now at the second public comment portion of tonight's meeting. We do not have any forms that have been provided, so if anyone would like to address the board during this time, please come forward.
Right, we're
I
not
see
seeing
none.
any. If I may, Ken, do you think it would be more appropriate for me to call for a 5-minute
I think that would be, I
recess?
think that would be in order
I-
to allow you to assess the status
I
as well.
would, because they're actually the next item under old business as well. So I'm going to make a motion for a 5-minute recess while we see where we are with that particular public hearing.
Second.
A motion is second, please vote. We're going into recess at 6 o'clock on the dot. We will be back at 6:05. Alrighty, folks, I apologize. That went a few minutes longer than I had intended, but it was a worthwhile use of time. I'm going to call us back out from recess at 6:18 p.m. Is there a motion to return into our session?
So moved.
If a motion is second, please vote. And we're in at 6:18. I've gotten some information that our other administrative hearing is requiring the services of an interpreter this evening. He is still here. So I'm going to ask for a motion that we take administrative hearing number 1 and hear that at this time.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second, please vote. And we are going to hear that item now. Ken, Mr. Gerard.
Madam Chair, with respect to the introduction of the item, I would defer that to Ms. Conrad.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'll let you give the details, the detailed details.
The business for the administrative hearing is located in Commission District Number 2. This is an administrative hearing in reference to violations of the massage and spa ordinance for HM Sunflowers LLC, doing business as Sunflower Foot Massage, located at 415 Peachtree Parkway, Suite 215. Name licensee is Hung Jin Ma. In this case, the owner was issued citation for a violation under Section 22-230B and 230C. A prior citation for window covering was issued April 11th of 2018.
All right, thank you very much. Is there a motion to open the administrative hearing?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And we're open. Now Mr. Gerard will present.
Madam Chair, board members, as with the prior hearing, we will handle this at least procedurally in the same way. At this time, I would request that the name licensee and anyone she cares to have with her, as well as the interpreter, come on up to the podium so I can at least talk to them very briefly. All right, could you go ahead and introduce yourself, please?
麻烦你自我介绍一下。
Oh, my name is Hong Xin Ma.
Are you the name licensee?
你是这一个拿了执照人对吧？
Sure. Yes.
Yes.
All right, Madam Chair, as before, I'm going to be providing for purposes of this hearing basically documentation into the record. So what I'm going to provide to the name licensee of Sunflower Massage is a copy of the Massage and Spa Ordinance, as well as a copy of the magistrate court file where these were tried or adjudicated.
这我自己拿的是吗？
This is for me, right?
That is correct.
是的。
And you all may sit down just for a moment. So, Madam Chair, having done that and provided them the documentation, I now want the record to reflect that the county is placing into this evening's record a certified copy of our massage spa ordinance, as well as the certified copy of the magistrate court proceedings where these were adjudicated, if the record can so reflect.
Thank you. It's been noted that it's been entered into the record.
Madam Chair, board members, as Ms. Conrath had mentioned, this is an administrative hearing with respect to name licensee Ma Hong Jin of Sunflower Foot Massage at 415 Peachtree Parkway. There were 2 citations issued on May 15th of this year. There was a plea or adjudication of guilt on July 18th of 2019. The 2 citations were citation under 22-230C, having an employee on the premises without a work permit, and a violation of 22-230B, once again, an inadequate record citation. unlike the last hearing where there was due cause based upon 3 citations, that's not the cause that warranted the hearing here. Here, the reason is actually, that's not true. Both of those citations individually will trigger due cause for a hearing. So even though they are more of an administrative in nature, they still trigger an automatic hearing. And one more piece of information for the board is that in August of 2018, there was in fact a citation issued, adjudication of guilt, and in fact an administrative hearing before you regarding the storefront being blocked by screening material when the store is open to the public. As you know, when these institutions or businesses are supposed to have fully visible exterior viewing, and so that was one that was within the last year or so. Madam Chair, board members, that is my presentation, and at this point it would be appropriate to hear from the named licensee.
Thank you. If the licensee would please come forward, and it's your turn to tell your story. You can speak into state your name and speak into the microphone, please.
This is my coach. I need his talk today.
Okay. If you could also please state your name for the record.
Oh, sorry.
No,
His name is-
No,
Yeah.
your name.
Oh, my name is Hong Sin Ma.
Thank you.
And hi, my name's Steve Oliver. We apologize for being here tonight. Hong Sin has owned a business and has owned a residence in Forsyth County for many years. She's very committed to this county. Sunflower Foot Massage does 85–90% foot massages. Most of our clients are women. I'm a friend and a business coach of Hong Sin's, and I'm not doing my job very well because she didn't have the point-by-points of this ordinance. She thought she could. Well, let me explain to you what happened. She had a longtime employee that left the day before, and somebody called her and wanted the position, so she called him in for an interview. And after she had interviewed him, somebody came in and wanted to do a foot massage. She asked him to do it to prove that he could do what he said he could. And as he was doing this, the officer came in. She immediately told him he doesn't have a permit yet. While the officer was there, he noticed that there was 3 customers there. Only 2 of them had signed in. The lady that Tom, the guy that was not hired yet, had not signed in, and she was going to have them sign in as they paid for their service. I've gone back over the ordinance with Cindy. She is in complete compliance with the ordinance now. There are no issues. You will not see us again. We do apologize for being here.
Okay. Would anyone like to hear from, is the officer here? If do you have anything further you want to add at this point? You guys may be seated. We're going to have the officer speak, unless you have anything now.
I just wanted to come up and say that that is exactly what happened when I came in. The gentleman did not have his permit when I came in. That was the one citation, and like they said, it's exactly like he said it was just then.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the officer from the board? Thank you. Do you have any response to that? He's agreeing with you? No? Thank you. If there's no one else who's here to speak on this, I'm going to go ahead and ask to close this administrative hearing for discussion by the board. That's my motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And our administrative hearing is now closed with a vote of 5-0. Commissioners, does anyone want them to come forward to answer?
This one-
Would you like to come forward?
Yes.
We may have some questions for you.
And for me, this sounds as innocent as it sounds. It's not convoluted to me. From
Yeah, I guess my primary concern is that on an ongoing basis, ordinances do change over time occasionally, and so there's gonna have to be some ownership within the business, or that she's going to be able to rely on somebody consistently that is going to be able to make sure that she's aware of not just the ordinance as it is today, but as it might change over time.
I will keep up with it myself. She has another friend that used to be a Forsyth County resident who has moved out of state, but he helps her as well. And he'll keep up with the ordinance. So we'll make sure that she understands it. And like I said, you won't have any more problems.
Did she end up hiring the gentleman who was giving the massage without a permit?
She did.
She did. And he now is in compliance with a permit?
This happened on a Tuesday. We're closed on Wednesday. He went on Wednesday and got his permit.
Okay.
And everybody that works for us has their permit.
All right. Any questions from the board?
Yes,
This is
I have a
District 2.
couple.
I do too.
So when you received the warning letter in 2018, did you not take that serious?
Absolutely, we did. That particular violation, she was out of the country. Somebody was watching her business for her and didn't know the ordinance. But she went ahead, paid the fines, and we admitted that it happened. And you have not had that problem with us again.
I mean, if you receive a letter, that should be taken very seriously, because
And it was.
I think everybody knows we're watching these businesses.
Absolutely, and we're not your typical massage business. We take it very seriously. This is her family's only source of income, so it's very important to her.
Okay, the next question I have is, no employee permit. I mean, that's fairly cut and dry. Does she understand
Yes.
that before the employee can do any work, they have to have
And it
a...
was because of this incident. She thought that if he could do the foot massage and go get a permit, that she'd be fine. She did not understand that he has to have the permit first before she can hire. So she understands now. Also with the registry, if the customer comes in and sits down in the foot massage chair and doesn't sign, she takes the book over to them, has them sign it in the seat. So before they get service, they are signed into the registry. So because of these issues, she's learned her lesson, and she's not having any problems with that.
Ken, I have a question for you. How would the ordinance, if this, let's say, for instance, as part of a job interview had not been performed on a customer arriving, would it have been viewed and interpreted differently? For instance, if they had arrived on the scene and he was demonstrating his skills on the operator, would that have, not a service for pay, would that have made a difference?
It might have. That is one of those areas where there is going to be law enforcement discretion.
Okay.
Based upon the totality of the circumstances, and that's where we rely on our officers to know the context, and they typically get it right.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Cooper, I believe you had some questions as well.
You said that you won't be before us again, and that this will never happen again, but she was here in August of 2018.
Right.
And I believe, from you were substantiated by the officer. The description of what happened, was that in July of this year, and you were substantiated by the officer, so I have no reason to doubt that. It's just the importance of taking the ordinance seriously and thoroughly, and to make sure that your friend thoroughly understands.
She does, ma'am. She really does. She's really scared of the ordinance, and that's why she makes sure that she follows it. Like I said, we've gone over it again, and I've explained to her again, the order in which she can do stuff. And that's what was the problem. She had it backwards.
So is there a language barrier between the two of you, maybe?
Not really. I can sit there. She speaks English very well. She comprehends maybe 50-50. If I talk too
我讲的
fast,
时候
she can't
讲太快，她
understand
也
me.
听不懂。
But we went over the
我们
ordinance, and until she
这个是
understood it, we didn't
了解
move
之后
on to the
我们
next
再讲另
one.
外一
So,
条。
Because you did hear how, if it, with 3 ordinances, then, we can revoke license, and this 3 within 24 months, which she's had, it could be done. And I'm not saying I'm not even saying that that's what's going to be done. All I'm saying is it's very important that that ordinance be understood, and that if there is any confusion as far as the business owner understanding what you are telling her or trying to instruct her, then maybe you need to pull in another person so there's clarity on that, and that her business isn't closed down based on misunderstanding from what you were saying is what this was.
we may take the ordinance and have it translated in Chinese, so she can read that as well.
她还可以
But,
听得懂，看得懂。对。
Yeah,
Say
but
for-
that would be
They-
probably a good
when-
idea.
When the police officers come in, and they come in, every couple of months,
几个月
and
来一次。
she knows
她就知
the
道
drill and what she's
应该
supposed to
怎么
show
做
them,
就给他们看
and it's usually not a
好像
problem.
应该不是个问题。
This all happened at the same time, as far as
同时发
the
生
lady
的。
not signing in,
她没有签
this
名
guy not
这个
having
人
a
没有执
license,
照
or not having a permit
没有
yet,
一个执照。
and, it was the perfect storm.
I understand that. It's just that if you're following the ordinance, then that should have no questions for you
Well,
either.
she's learned her lessons from this,
她
she's paid her
这次
fines,
她学
and,
乖了。
you know, she doesn't like being here,
她不
so
喜欢来这里
she's
的。
doing
Really?
everything.
You don't think this is a party for her?
谁会喜欢来这里？
She said her heart's beating
她说
quite
她心
quickly.
跳得很
Okay,
快。
that was all I had to say. Thank you.
Are there any further questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Brown, this is your district, so I'm going to hand it over to you.
So I think this they're all serious. Any violations are serious. And I hope you'll learn from whatever we decide to do tonight. Because the 2018, it is a pattern, and then 2 more. I'm thinking maybe a suspension, maybe 2 weeks. Is that, what?
That is fully within the province of the board.
It is, but if I may,
Sure.
this is a person that, and if everybody seems to be telling the truth and everybody's telling the same story, she messed up bad when she wanted to see what the performance level was. They should have done that after closed hours and let him show what he could do. And of course, I don't know that our ordinance even has a provision for that.
我们当面应该
But I think
也
2 weeks could be
真的
devastating to their business for a silly mistake that they've made. This is not anything they get.
It's not the first
What
rodeo,
was their first offense?
她第一次什么时候？
Window covering.
blocking of the windows. Well, what it shows to me is that
But
there has,
never the bad stuff.
but what, again, it's another one of these things where there's a situation where they have not really, they've failed to
I'm thinking 7.
really understand the ordinance in
7.
its totality.
Okay,
And so
I'm okay.
perhaps whatever time that Commissioner Brown decides is appropriate would be the appropriate time for you to go ahead, and if a translation is necessary, to do that and to sit down with the ordinance and
Yeah,
get to understand it.
The first time, she, like I said, she was out of town, somebody was watching her business for her.
Right, but
They're the
after,
ones that closed the blinds and weren't supposed to.
okay.
But,
Yeah.
but she paid the fines.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, after that,
We want you to be successful, but you must take these ordinances very
你要
serious.
成功赚钱的话，
And
你要把
another
这个
thing that
非常
just
认真。
happened is her father died,
上次是他爸爸
and she went back
他回
to
去，
China.
临时回去的嘛，
She closed her business for a month
他关了1个月，
because
Okay.
因为没有人
because she didn't want any other
他也不要
problems.
其
So
他人
that
出问
just
题，
happened. She's only been back
所以
Okay.
刚回来才几个礼拜
Thank
才
you.
回来。
I'm going to move that we suspend for 7 days, beginning on a Monday,
他把你讲话变改7天，
running through 7 concurrent executive or consecutive days.
7天。
Second.
we have a motion and a second for a 7-day suspension beginning on a Monday for
He have to say when it
consecutive.
began?
Well, Commissioner Brown, do you want them to coordinate with planning and law enforcement to figure out the day? But
Yeah.
I assume you mean fairly immediately.
Fairly quick.
Okay, is that enough, Mr. Brown, or do you
Yeah.
need more guidance than that?
This is coming Monday.
这个礼拜
Well, you can coordinate with the planning
Yeah.
staff and the law
7天
enforcement.
就是了。
Just 7 consecutive.
consecutive.
7
对
consecutive days, so if they're not open on Sunday,
包括
they.
休假一天。
All right, we do have an active motion right now. I think we've gotten the proper clarifications. Please vote.
他们要投票的。
And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. We're jumping all over the place. We're going to go back to where we left off with our public hearings this evening, which takes us to public hearing number 3. If you could please brief us on that, Mr. Brown.
AZ 19-0006. This is in Commission District number 5. It's a public hearing for Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Forsyth County, LLC, regarding the amendment, deletion, and addition of conditions placed on zoning application 3222. The applicant's also requesting variances. The first is to reduce the required loading spaces from 8 to 2. The second is to increase the maximum allowed parking from 97 to 154. Conditions are being displayed, and I've been told we have a edited version of the conditions to display as well.
Yeah, and actually, I think it probably makes more sense after you finish scrolling with those, to go ahead and bring up the new red lines, because those will be what we will be considering. We may have to scroll these if they were advertised, but there were some last-minute changes today, so. Thank you. Is this our red lines that are coming through? Thank you very much. While those are scrolling, I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to open the public hearing. And that's my motion.
Second.
Please vote. That motion carries with a vote of 5-0, and we are now open for business. I'm going to ask anyone who is here to speak in favor of this application to come forward at this time.
Thank you, Ms. Mintz. My name is Carl Westmoreland. My address is 3343 Peachtree Road, Atlanta. I hope that we spent a productive hour and a half with your indulgence meeting with the neighbors over the last few minutes. I'll very briefly describe what the application is, and then try to, for the sake of your time, just focus on the agreement, which I believe we've come to tonight. I represent Encompass Health out of Birmingham. This is a change in conditions on 9.2 acres on Sanders Road. The change of conditions are to conditions that were approved in 2006 on this property, which approved a total of 58,720 square feet of retail, 294 parking spaces, and 2 retail outparcels on Sanders Road. The request is to allow a rehabilitation hospital. It's not a drug and alcohol rehabilitation hospital. It takes people who have suffered strokes, joint replacement, that sort of thing. I think we've been through all that, and everyone understands it. It would have an ultimate size, once it's expanded, of 74,500 square feet. Mr. Brown's already read the 2 variances that we've asked for. I'd point out that the maximum number of parking spaces that we've asked for, 154, is substantially fewer than the 294 that exist already. So the first issue, I think, is this a use that is better for the county than the existing retail? And we think it is. We've looked at studies that show in 2016 there were 109 residents of Forsyth County that had to go out of the county for this type of treatment. The second question, and what we have spent most of our time addressing with the neighbors this evening, is the effect of this change on the neighborhood, which is the Grove Park neighborhood. Now, I think, and I will speak to where we are and let them comment on it. I think that what we've come up with is that the plans with which we amended the application, the site plan and the landscape plan in late May and early June, with modifications that we agreed on this evening, would be appropriate. And those modifications are that the concrete wall, which is a retaining wall at the rear of the property, would be extended approximately 140 feet, I believe, to the outlet of the detention pond. It would maintain a minimum height of 8 feet on the Grove Park side of the wall. The next change would be that within the 40-foot undisturbed buffer, the applicant would have supplemental planning to provide additional screening from Grove Park to the facility. And the third is really a clarification, which is that the 8-foot fence, the wooden fence that's shown at the top of the wall on the plan, is solid. They wanted clarification that it's solid, and it is. I would suggest that these changes would be made to control to the degree that there's any conflict with any existing narrative conditions or with the site plan, and that the district commissioner have the authority to review and confirm that these changes are made on plans that would be submitted by the applicant as soon as possible. So with that, I'll reserve any time for rebuttal, but I have certainly tried to be as clear as I could on what I understand the agreement we have reached with the neighbors to be.
Thank you. If there's anybody else who wants to speak in favor of this, or I know you're reserving your time, but I'll call for anyone else. And if we need to extend for either side, I will entertain it at that time.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, my name is Robert Long. I reside in North Forsyth at 6990 Shady Oak Lane. I'd like to speak on behalf of, I'm with the Chamber of Commerce, VP of Econ Development. This is a project that's been in the works for, actually predates me. But I think this is something that's very valuable to our community. Having a rehab hospital that is in closer proximity to our residents. This is a good project. This is going to be over $18 million investment, over 100 jobs. Healthcare is one of our fastest growing job sector in our community. And this is going to be paying very good jobs associated with those this particular facility. When I did the analysis, looking at the capital investment associated with this project, we're expecting it to be about a $1.4 million net gain to property taxes over the next 10 years. And that is just looking at the initial phase one, which is the 50 beds. Obviously, when you throw in the additional beds and additional investment associated with that, that number would obviously go up as well. So on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce, we are very supportive of this project. Northside is very supportive of this project. It'll be beneficial to them to be able to send some of their patients to as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? All right, time to switch gears. Is there anyone who'd like to come forward and speak in opposition to this proposal?
My name is Sharon Housley, and I live in Grove Park, and I represent a lot of my Grove Park residents, and we have been trying to work on this for a while. We are having to take a giant leap of faith here because we have nothing that is in writing that is totally what we agree to in regard to a site plan. And I want it to go on record that we're taking a very big risk. I'm not totally opposing this. The site plans that we have seen have been all over the place. The last one we looked at just a few minutes ago was for actually June 17th, and that's the only one that we are agreeing to. Nothing in May, and only we looked at the landscaping plans on there, and the landscaping was better. We looked at the wall plan. And we're trusting that our commissioner will have oversight of that. We asked for a good neighbor fence, not just a wooden fence. And we also asked for a buffer that is unplanted, but we are allowing a little bit of augmentation, as is with a big box, which is, this is what it is. It's a hard, big block building, and we do not want to see it at all. And we don't want to see the light from it at all. No matter what time of the day or week it is in the year, we don't want to see it. And so we are not in full agreement until we see the final plans and the final wording of this. And, you know, I trust the commissioner, but we have no other choice, but this is our only avenue to speak out against what is going on, because after this, Grove Park has no way to interfere with this. But this is not good business, because we don't really see it in writing yet.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition or express concerns?
Commissioners, my name is Scotty DePriest. I'm also a resident of Grove Park subdivision. The residents of Grove Park are not real estate attorneys. We're not engineers. We are not a multi-billion-dollar company with vast resources. We are Forsyth County homeowners. You are our elected officials. We have many hours of active negotiation on this piece of property since 2006. We have asked for three main things since the beginning: an adequate buffer, a fence, and appropriate plantings and screenings to lessen the impact of a commercial property next to a residential property. As of tonight, we have sacrificed a 75-foot buffer down to a 40-foot buffer. We have traded a fence for a modular block retaining wall extended by concrete. Appropriate plantings and screenings are yet to be determined, but we must put our trust somewhere. We've tried to negotiate since December of last year, and we've made more progress in the last hour than we have in 9 months. Let me be clear that I believe I speak for the residents of Grove Park when I tell you we are far from happy, but we must trust someone. You are elected officials. Ms. Samanson, thank you for your efforts. You have earned our trust with your actions, with your words. You have asked us to trust the members of this commission, and we will be putting that trust in you to protect Grove Park, the values of our property, the quality of our life as we go forward. I'm sure there will be more developments adjacent to Grove Park in the future. Sanders Road is a very hotbed of development. Please put in your memory that Grove Park is not unreasonable. We are willing to negotiate. We are only trying to protect our values of life, and we ask for your support, and we put our trust in you when we do that. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who'd like to come forward? Mr. Westmoreland, did you have anything further?
Thank you. And I appreciate the comments that the neighbors made. Again, the last thing I want to do is to be accused, whether now or in the future, that we misrepresented anything. That's why I want you to be able to look at it and confirm that we did what we said we would do. I don't know any other way to be more clear about that and still move this ahead. I think we got to an agreement on those three additional issues. I think we have expressed them fairly clearly. If Mr. Gerard has different language that he would prefer we use, I'm happy to hear that. But that's what I understand with those changes to the plans, and I just confirmed with Mr. Brown, they were the plans that were submitted on May 28th and June 7th. Those were the plans we were looking at. If the changes with regard to the extension of the wall, the additional planting and the buffer, and confirmation that the wood fence is solid, I think that's the agreement, and I trust you all and the county staff to confirm that we've done what we said we would do. The 75-foot buffer didn't go to 40 feet. It was 75 with a berm and the outside 35 feet before. That's a matter of semantics. But again, I think that I hope we've got an agreement. I hope we are putting it in your hands to confirm that we keep our agreement. And with that, I would hope this would resolve the issue. I think that it is better for the county. I think it's better for the neighborhood to have this facility than the retail that's approved on it now. And this will ask for your approval of the application as we have requested it be amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further comments from either side? Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
The motion is second. Please vote. Okay, we are now closed. So, and I may need to have you kind of confirm some of the language there, and I'm going to work with Ken and Tom both to make sure that we capture that language in the appropriate place with the red line documents that have been displayed. Now, I would like everybody who's with, if you can go ahead and scroll through them slowly so everybody gets a chance. I am going to want to make a couple of small edits just off the top. Onto number 15, I would like that red line language to say, light fixtures will utilize features such as full cutoff, comma, shielded fixtures, comma, or other available light reduction techniques, or light control techniques. Because there may be new things that come out that work better. Also, as we move to number 27, well, actually, let's stop on 23. Are we no longer referring to conceptual plan C200 then, Mr. Westmoreland?
No, we're not. We're referring to, and had in front of us in the back room.
That's what I want to make sure is referenced.
The plan dated May 28th. If you look in the May 28th, 2019 was.
So is that okay? And that is a site plan, or that is
that was conceptual
landscape
plan?
Okay,
correct.
And is there a because as it's reading right now, development shall be landscaped in reasonable conformance to the landscape plan represented in the exhibits. We had left that so we could fill that in. So I want to make sure. Are we going to include that as an exhibit? Or are we just going to? Do you have a copy over there, Mr. Brown?
It is. It was submitted to the county on May 28th.
So submitted. So in the exhibits submitted. Conceptual landscape plan. Are we then retaining that language with the plan L100? Are we going to? Tell me how. Walk me through how that needs to work. And
I think
Scotty, or anyone who wants to kind of look over this at the same time and confirm that was the agreement. If you want to come forward, that's appropriate. I think at this time, just to make sure we're all reading off the same page. I don't want to get this wrong.
I think what we're talking about is consistent with the landscape plan submitted to the Forsyth County Planning Department on May 28th, 2019.
May 29th. So it looks like we can keep some of that redlined language in there. Development shall be landscaped in reasonable conformance with the landscape plan submitted on May 28th.
28th.
No, the one we were looking at was dated June 17th, 2019.
Is it the date of the plan or date of submission is the most important?
Well, let's go with the date that is stamped on the plan. How about? Well, I get either one. Tell me what to work with.
I would prefer, and I think the county would prefer to the date.
The submittal date?
That's the plan.
Give me the submittal date then.
Correct.
That's going to be June?
That was submitted May 28th.
May 28th.
But the one we were looking at had the date of June 17th.
But are you talking about a site plan or are you talking about a landscape plan? We're talking about?
Landscaping plan.
Okay, let's confirm that.
Madam Chair, we're going to try to put that plan up on the screen.
That would be
we
awesome.
think we have a digital version of it,
That would be great. Thank you.
like landscape. Mr. Westmoreland, is this it on the screen?
Now, we already have the understanding that this is the degree of planting you're looking for, but we already are aware that planting on the earthen dam is not going to be permitted.
Correct.
Correct? Are we in agreement on that now? Yeah. And that would be L100. So the development shall be landscaped in reasonable conformance to the landscape plan submitted. Are we saying it is May 28th, 2019, entitled L100?
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Just looking at the documents we have on e-status, our electronic portal for our citizens and applicants, I can tell you that the concept plan that was submitted to my office on May 28th is not the same plan that's on the screen right now.
Okay.
So I just want, if that,
We need to get that clarified.
And I believe it says 50 beds and 59,000 square feet?
That's the initial phase.
Right.
They have to go back for
If you're approving this, I'd make note that that's not correct.
Well, the application is for the full. They have to go back and get well, they have to get approval from the state.
okay,
They have to get a certificate of need.
Right, the addition.
Madam Chair, I have an update to tell you. That was a multiple-page plan, which we don't typically see on a cup. This is a more elaborate application than many, and I do see now on the second page where it matches. Just giving a quick eyeball check, it does appear to match what's on the screen, so I stand corrected. Pardon
Okay,
me.
so as long as we reference that as L100, you will have the correct document on file.
Yes.
Okay, are we also, is traveling with that going to be the conceptual plan site C200?
That plan was that is that's the site plan without the landscaping on it. It's
Correct, is that the correct number that you
That
guys
is-
came
that
up
is
with out
correct.
there?
Yes.
All right, just want to make sure. Thank you. And is the date on that going to be June 7th, or is that going to be May 28th as well?
No, it's June 7th.
That is June 7th, just making sure. Okay. And then as it comes down, it says, the number and type of planting shall be approved by the county arborist and to ensure compliance. I'm going to go ahead and include and district commissioner with that. And of course, I will rely heavily on our arborist for that.
Madam Chair, what condition was that in?
That is number 23 that we just kind of hashed out. So I can read it, I can read it as I've made my notations, and you can ask me if you need further clarity. It now should read, the development shall be landscaped in reasonable conformance to the landscape plan submitted May 28th, 2019, entitled L100, and the site plan submitted June 7th, 2019, entitled Conceptual Plan C200. The number and type of plantings shall be approved by the county arborist to ensure compliance with Forsyth County Tree Ordinance and the UDC. But right after arborist, I think to give a comfort level to the citizens, I'm going to go ahead and put myself on the hook for that as well.
So that last sentence will include
So
you as well?
it will include the county arborist and district commissioner. I mean, you could ultimately put me on there, and I will be using him as my my guide on that as well. But
I have a question, if I could, and this
Sure,
may
sir.
be more for Mr. Westmoreland. And Tom, could you hear me on this when I ask this question? So the language about reasonable conformance to the landscape plan, I'm not used to seeing that language, and there's nothing necessarily improper about it. But is there something? Is that stated that way to provide additional flexibility? Is there? I'm just trying to ascertain.
I think I see where you're going. That language can come out. I'm fine with that because we're already saying it's going to be changed because it's subject to further approval.
yeah, I mean, I think have we in the past said significant conformance or something along those lines?
Substantial conformance.
Substantially conformant, yeah.
That would be my preference.
whatever wording you think is appropriate, or even the deletion of it if it creates
Well,
an issue.
reasonable
We
conformance
already
is
know
good
that
fodder
this-
for lawyers to fight over, and I don't want to fight over it.
The landscape plan is
on this one, Ken.
depicting a level of landscaping that we're trying to achieve. We already are aware that the earthen dam is not going to be planted, so we know that it's going to deviate somewhat.
And I understood that, yes, ma'am, I got it.
Thank you. So whatever you think is appropriate on that. Then as we're scrolling down to number 27.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sure, go right ahead.
just a quick comment.
Yes, sir.
We may have identified an issue with engineering also about this wall extension.
They ultimately,
So I didn't know if you wanted to include them.
yeah, not in the landscape, yeah, well,
It's
that,
all yours, so.
thank you, yeah, I mean, ultimately, if engineering says it, they won't permit it. So that happens without having to state it outright.
Okay.
And they'll let me know, I'm sure. Number 24, we're not having any issues with that, I don't believe. Number 27, in addition on those red lines, we're gonna go ahead and put me on the hook as well with a landscape plan to achieve maximum screening as approved by the county arborist and district commissioner. And this is where we're gonna need to capture further down in this, some of that, that language with respect to the 8-foot, the extension of the wall and the solid fence, the solid good neighbor fence.
Well, if you don't mind, the easier one, I think, is to go to the third paragraph in 27, the first line of which says there will be an 8-foot treated wood fence. If you want to just insert the word solid, I think that addresses their issue. If you go to the paragraph above that, which begins, there shall be modular block retaining walls, I think that's the one that needs to be modified to say that the wall shall extend to the outlet of the detention pond.
You want to start that after county arborist and district commissioner as a new sentence then? Drop that, the wall shall
extend to the outlet of the detention pond.
Okay.
And will maintain a minimum 8-foot height on the Grove Park side of the wall.
All right, we're good?
Okay.
Everybody's nodding?
Right.
That gets it? Okay. It then continues, should be 8-foot solid good neighbor fence along the eastern edge of the proposed development's loop drive. Are we striking anything here that's going to be redundant? Are we keeping any, is there any redundancy that remains in this with respect to the instructions for black coated vinyl chain link fence?
No, because that's in a different section.
That's still going to
of the
be
fence.
okay.
I think the only other thing you need to add is the language about the supplemental planting within the.
Right, and this may be I think this is where we're going to try to achieve that as well.
Correct.
So let's look at where we want to make sure that happens. And was there an additional row of planting too, where it goes from 1 to 2, or is that already
That's
captured
already,
in the condition?
that's already captured and subject to.
It wasn't in the site plan, but it was in the condition?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
But I think 27 is the appropriate place to add the language about the additional planting.
Yeah. Do we want to drop that in then, where the purpose of fencing and planting materials to obscure visibility, and then we'll drop it in after that, since we've stated a purpose, and put supplemental planting shall be provided to achieve?
Well, you maybe say, I think this is what they wanted to say, in the 40-foot undisturbed buffer.
Okay. Shall be made in the otherwise undisturbed buffer.
That was augmented is what the county uses in their code.
Okay.
Not to mean that we want it to be disturbed other than.
Yeah, supplemental is what I had scribbled down here, I think. Ken, is there
Madam Chair, I'm fine with that. I would recommend that go in sentence 2. I think that's the natural place, because that's identifying the buffer.
Okay, so augmented planting or supplemental planting shall be made in the otherwise undisturbed buffer
Yes.
to achieve maximum screening. Thank you. All right.
Where is that? Right here.
So,
yeah, they're-
substantial.
Yeah,
And you went to substantial on the other one, that's fine there,
I
too.
do. Yeah, I think that's
Okay.
fine. That makes me feel better.
Alrighty, Ken, remind me where that other one, that other substantial was so I can mark it on my notes.
I think it's 23.
23, I thought,
Yes.
right? Yep,
First line.
yep. Okay, scrolling along here, we've addressed 23 and 27, those were the hard ones. And then we had some new conditions, and these were traveling over from our CUP process that we're going to be hearing after this. They appear as new conditions when we get to them. Okay, here comes our new stuff. That should look familiar to everyone with the exception of perhaps 45 being a little more closely described from a medical facility to a physical and occupational rehabilitation and therapy facility. Does that cover the breadth of your work?
Yes.
Al? Yes, okay, thank you.
And, yeah, these last ones were the ones that came from Planning Commission.
Correct, correct. All right. Well, the public hearing is open, but I will give a little bit of latitude right now to anybody who still has something that caught their eye and that through what we were scrolling there to raise their hand. Okay. Well, any questions from the board for me or for anyone in the room?
I just have one for you, Madam Chair.
Sure.
It appears that this is going to be a much lower impact than what's zoned today. Would you agree with that?
Excuse me?
That this is going to be a lower impact to the area than when the retail store?
It's a different impact. It's a different impact. I mean, I think that it's a lower impact in many ways. There may be some, arguably, not so much in some other ways. I mean, it's still a very large commercial facility. However, it is already zoned for large commercial facilities that
Correct.
would potentially have operating hours that would be more cumbersome, noise levels that would be more cumbersome. So I would say on the whole, it is less intense than what is there currently, but there are still reasons that we want to make sure that there's a
I
clear
agree.
and distinct protection, separation of uses.
Thank you.
And that's why this has taken so long.
No, I'm okay with that. I just wanted to hear that you felt it was a lower impact.
Then a shopping center, absolutely.
Yes, that's what I was getting at. Thank you.
But, you know,
I get
again,
it.
it's an opportunity for us to try to make
Yes.
everybody work as well together as they can.
Yes.
I think it will be a great addition to the community and very needed, once we can get to where everybody is not, not being overly burdened by each other.
I just had a question. I couldn't remember when we toured the other facility, but is this one going to have the ability to treat people with head injuries? Yes. Thank you.
Commissioner Brown, did you have any questions, or Commissioner Cooper? Okay, bear with me. This may take me a second to make sure that we're capturing everything that we just kind of rolled through. So I am going to make a motion to approve AZ 190006 with the conditions shown as redlined with additional changes to include. On number 15, the redlined sentence should read, light fixtures will utilize features such as full cutoff, comma, shielded fixtures, comma, or other available light control techniques. As we scroll down to number 23, the development shall be landscaped in substantial conformance to the landscape plan submitted May 28, 2019, entitled L100, and the conceptual plan C200 as submitted on June 7, 2019. The number and type of plantings shall be approved by the county arborist and district commissioner to ensure compliance with the Forsyth County Tree Ordinance and the UDC. Number 24 stays as listed. Number 27, there shall be a 40-foot, I'll just go straight to where the change is. Within the redlined language, it says with a landscape plan to achieve maximum screening as approved by the county arborist. If you will add the language that says and district commissioner to that sentence. We are then going to come down and add the sentence after that that states that the wall shall extend to the outlet of the detention pond and will maintain a minimum 8-foot height on the Grove Park side. They'll continue through the black lines to where it says there shall also be an 8-foot treated, comma, solid, comma, good neighbor fence along the eastern edge of the proposed development. Excuse me, I left out the word wood. A treated, I probably should say, excuse me, back up. I'm gonna say there shall also be an 8-foot treated wood, comma, solid, comma, good neighbor fence. And then the language continues after that. As we go down to the bottom of that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines up, just above the strike-through red lines, we're gonna swap the word reasonable for substantial. Moving on to the next page, in the same condition, on the 1, 2, 3rd line, after the words proposed development, we're going to add language that states that augmented, comma, supplemental planning shall be made in the otherwise undisturbed buffer to achieve maximum screening. That is the extent of the changes. I would like to make that motion to include not only those conditions, but also the variance as called out at the very end of the red lines. That is my motion.
Second.
Okay, I got it. Motion second. I've got the conditions. I just want to confirm, and just because I didn't hear it, I was listening to it, so if I didn't hear it, that's my fault. But in 23, you did intend to make that reasonable conformance, substantial conformance as well, just like you did in the
Yes,
latter
sir,
part.
I missed that one word. Thank you for that correction.
So does the second agree to that as well?
Yes.
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 All right, thank you. We have a motion and second.
Thank you, and we can scroll through these if everyone wants to one last time, or I'll go ahead and call the vote. You guys want to look at it one more time?
Just, I want to say that from personal standpoint of somebody that's had to go in the last 2 years or 3 years to Dahlonega with my dad for rehab and then to North Fulton, I'm thankful that y'all were able to get this worked out because our citizens desperately need a place like this, that they don't have to continue to go to other counties. It's stressful enough to have that kind of, sickness in your family and be going through a lot to begin with, but then add to it having to drive farther. So I'm thankful that we can provide this to our citizens. I hope y'all do a great job for the citizens.
All right, without further ado, please vote. And that motion passes with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for working so hard on this. Thank you to Grove Park for having confidence in me. So,
Excellent. We'll now go treat our head injuries. Thanks.
thank you. All right, so we got a little bit out of order. We do have the old business item number 1. This is not a public hearing. I'll go ahead and allow Tom to brief us on that. The conditions that are on this are the ones we just saw a few minutes ago.
This is application CP 190005, again for Health South Rehabilitation Hospital of Forsyth County, LLC. It's in Commission District Number 5. This is the application that would cover the issuance of a conditional use permit to operate a hospital and health-related services not otherwise specified in a proposed 74,500 square foot building, allowing around-the-clock operation on 9.2 acres of property that's currently zoned CBD. The applicant's also requesting a variance to reduce the number of loading spaces from 8 to 2. The property, as you know, is on Sanders Road. The Planning Commission recommended approval of the CUP with variance and conditions. The public hearing was held on April 23rd, and the proposed use was found to be in conformity with the comprehensive plan. Similar to the last set, you are familiar with the conditions and the fact that there are a red-lined version.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Well, this is my district again. Same site that we're considering. Just for consistency's sake, this is somewhat of a formality at this point, as we've already gone ahead and captured most of this in our zoning, our application for a zoning condition amendment. I would like to make sure that we harmonize the language on that condition that was number 45 on the previous the previous issue with number 1 on these conditions. If you can scroll up where it was a little bit more captured, that the around-the-clock operation is limited to a physical and occupational rehabilitation and therapy facility, rather than just a medical rehabilitation therapy or medical rehabilitation facility. Do you have that? So my motion is to approve the conditional use permit with the conditions and variants as shown, and the clarification of language for condition number 1 to reflect that it is a physical and occupational rehabilitation and therapy facility. And that's my motion. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Thank you. Okie dokie. So old business number 2 was postponed until September the 5th. And I did not get it out here on the table in time for me to, on old business number 3. I'll let you go ahead and introduce the item, Mr. Brown, but I'm going to postpone this at the applicant's request. Since we have it on the agenda and I failed to bump it at agenda adoption, I will go ahead and let you introduce it, and then we'll just do a punt.
I'll keep my introduction brief. It's application CP 190012, the applicant's North Shaw Properties LLC in Commission District 5. It's a CUP for warehousing and open storage yard, as well as a night watchman. The property is located on Beaufort Dam Road.
Thank you. And as I just stated, I did get communication from the applicant earlier today wishing to postpone this until we've had a chance to sit down. We're going to do that. So I would like to postpone the decision on this particular item until September the 5th.
Second.
The motion is second. Please vote. That motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Thank you, Tom. Old business number 4 was postponed until September the 19th. New business number 1 was postponed until September the 5th. Excuse me, that was 1A. 1B, Mr. Brown.
CP 190023 TowerCom 5 LLC, located in Commission District Number 5. This is a request for the issuance of a conditional use permit to erect a telecommunications tower, a 150-foot monopole, on a lease area of 0.2296 acres located on 20.21 acres of property that's currently zoned A1. The applicant's also requesting a variance to reduce the separation distance between the communication tower and residential uses from 500 to 463 feet. The property is located east of Shady Grove Road. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this conditional use permit with the variance and conditions. We will have a red line version to display. The public hearing was held on July 23rd. The proposed use was found to be in conformity with the comprehensive plan. Staff is supportive.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. So this is again in my district, and I'm in receipt of the letters from the neighboring community that they are not opposing this, particularly with the agreement that they have moved the access point over to Shady Grove Road. Of course, that's going to be subject to engineering approval, but I do have a question here. They're asking for a variance, which I do not have an issue with. They're actually asking to have the variance off of the residential property. It is also their own residential property. It's all within the same family, and so they don't mind having that closer to their home. But from a standpoint of moving forward, is that going to have any impact on incoming homes that would be built that would not allow them to be built closer, or would it?
Right. Typically, and again, this may be a Mr. Brown question more than a me, is how he would interpret that. My sense would be is that the variance is intended to protect the residences, and if they move within the proximity, that would be their
voluntary
discretion to do. But I'll defer to
I agree.
Mr. Brown.
Okay.
The tower cannot move in on the homes. The homes can move in on the tower.
Some clarification on that to make sure there wasn't any unintended consequences, that it's not going to limit somebody else necessarily, and which way it would work. I think the only issue that we still have at hand, I mean, this was approved by the Planning Commission. Do you have the red lines up there yet? Oh, there they are. Okay. And so number 7's being deleted because we have moved that access point. Do you have a plan B for when if you encounter a problem with engineering? Mr. Light, have you had any preliminary discussions with engineering as to whether you'll have good sight lines, you can get in and off that property safely?
We have had our engineers look at it with the engineering standards,
Okay.
so they don't foresee any issues. So that's, as long as there isn't, I mean, they're going to keep it off, or keep it on Shady Grove.
Hang with me for 1 second. One of the other discussions that you and I had when we looked at this was some enhanced landscaping that we were talking about, whether or not they would do the monopole or the pine or whatnot. And I'm just looking to see if we have any language on here that, other than the chain link green slatted fence, I'm not seeing anything as far as capturing that idea that they would do some additional landscaping. Is it moved sufficiently out of the view of the people on Chelsea Lane?
Yeah. So Chelsea Lane's the most affected neighbors,
Right.
and the entrance was coming in, so the gate to get into the structure was going to be facing them, which you can't screen. We have proposed 24 total evergreen trees, so it's 8 on each of the 3 sides where the gate's not, plus landscaping around there. We did try to talk them into a monopole as opposed to the pine, and some added landscaping with the pole, but they preferred the pine, and they felt comfortable with the landscaping as proposed because the gate was not going to be facing them anymore. So it will be the base structure will be completely screened, and we did agree to do the pine.
Do you have that landscaping reflected on your site plan?
It is.
On this exhibit, can we put the exhibit up, please?
It's not on this exhibit. It is it's in the CDs. They call it the civil design package. That's
Okay.
in,
I'd like
Tom's
to lock it down a little bit, give them something to come back to. So can we try to capture that in an additional condition 11? The commitment to the additional landscaping.
Let's see. Well, it's not really any additional landscaping than what's proposed in the application, unless you're saying you do want to add additional landscaping. So in the application, we proposed it would be 8 evergreen trees on each side, plus bushes and other decorative landscaping.
That would be great. If we can throw the landscape plan up there, I just would like to include that as an exhibit, just so there's not any. That's what's in the application. I'd like to be an exhibit in the zoning as well. So we can all see it, document it. It is District 5-9.
Are you going to do like Cryptomera or, instead of that Leland cypress?
Those green giants, Lelands and Cryptomeria. It's a combination, different textures.
Went through it with everybody. Nobody
Yeah.
seemed to have an issue.
Yeah, well, you know, a combination of those evergreens will have a more fluid look than
It'll
all
be
of
a
it being
wall.
the same thing.
Mhm.
All right, is there any questions from the board? Okay. All right, I'd like to make a motion then that we approve conditional use permit number CP 190023 with the conditions as shown, as well as referencing the site plan that was, the landscape plan that was displayed.
Second.
Commissioner?
Yes, sir.
Sorry. I don't think the Exhibit A was displayed that showed the entrance.
Go ahead and do that.
They should
And
have
we'll
it.
just we'll hit the pause on the vote button. Well, he's gonna display it.
It was in
I'll
the
go-
email I sent.
I'll go ahead and, if you'll remove your second, I'll go ahead and remove mine. And we'll just say,
Remove.
call it Exhibit A.
I don't know if you had it or I did. Remove.
Okay, everybody remove your seconds. Thank you. Okay. Show those pretty plants again.
This is the Exhibit A reference in the conditions where the
Okay,
the access point is on Shady Grove.
okay. And then you had that landscape plan that you showed us just a moment ago.
Correct.
So, I'm gonna alter my motion now. I'm going to make a motion to approve CP 190023 with the conditions as shown, as well as the Exhibit A and the landscaping plan as displayed. Second. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Don't talk me out of voting for something. All right?
Oh, I didn't want to come back and have to
That's
display
all
an
right.
exhibit at another meeting.
Okie dokie. Thank you. Takes us to new business number 2.
Madam Chair, board members, I will take this on. This is a testament to a lot of work that has been done by a lot of people with respect to the acquisition of right-of-way for some of our transportation projects. This is the acquisition and the property agreements related to the frontage at Provence subdivision. You all are intimately familiar with all the moving parts of this. So I am putting this on the screen because, well, for a variety of reasons. One is because I am not going to read every one of these under this tab. This is new business 2, but it is literally acquisition contracts of A through Z. So it is a lot of acquisition contracts, and I want the screen to portray all of them so those viewing on the internet can see them as well. Because we have discussed this in executive session under the auspices of land acquisition and settlement and a variety of things, the Open Meetings Act contemplates that we will put on the screen before we actually adopt not only the parcel, but the square footage or some of the substance of the acquisition, as well as the price, and as well as the owner. And so I want to make sure that we do all of those things to make sure we comply with the letter of the rule. And so that's why I have asked that those be portrayed. Madam Chair, procedurally, what I might request is this. A motion that we be able to approve on gross new business item 2 would be in order.
Is there any discussion?
So moved.
Second. There you go. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And those parcels are dealt with in
Well,
gross?
if I may, that was the we can. Now I'm going to ask you, if I can, this
Yes,
was my lack
absolutely.
of being thorough. If the Board of Commissioners, first of all, if you have any questions with
Right,
respect
ask
to
them
the
now.
amounts, but we've now portrayed them all. The amounts are as stated, the owners are as stated, and a motion to approve new business item 2 and all agreements therein is in order.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote again. And we are now approved with another vote of 5-0. Okey dokey. We did add new business item number 3, which was the disposition of property listed as parcel 125030.
Board members, Madam Chair, thank you very much. This was added on a time-sensitive basis. There is a reason for that. The Board of Commissioners has undertaken some initiatives to look very closely at properties that may be appropriate for disposition. You have done that a handful of times. We do have some exigencies in the county with respect to property acquisition, and candidly, I know the board is interested that if there's properties the county is holding on to that we can in fact convert to liquid, that may make some sense. And those pressures that we're under are in fact somewhat time critical. So the Board of Commissioners, if there is in fact a potential prospective buyer, has indicated they want to move forward with a possible disposition. To that end, you have in front of you a resolution that would authorize my office, but candidly working very closely with the county manager's office, to engage in the disposition process. Property that is held by a county government has to follow either a formal public auction or a sealed bid process taken after advertisements before we're able to sell. And that is obviously it's a transparent process. We want to make sure that everything is done out in the open because this is obviously an asset that is owned by the taxpayers. And that is what this authorization would do. This authorization identifies the tax parcel, which is tax parcel 125030. It is being brought up on the screen now. This is on Canton Highway. The actual physical address is 845 Canton Highway. This resolution, first of all, would provide that the county manager, in coordination with the county attorney and other county staff as needed, are directed to administer the sale of the subject property in accordance with OCGA 3693, which is the disposition statute. Yes, ma'am.
On the resolution, it says 843 Canton Highway, not 845. That's the address.
Oh, did I say 845? I meant 843. I can't imagine why I said 845. 843 Canton Highway.
It's not even late tonight.
It's not. I have no excuse. 5.72 acres, sealed bid or public auction process as is determined candidly by these resolutions. This is a form that we've used recently. It vests in the county manager the ability to basically select that method of disposition that he believes will yield the highest price and best value. Otherwise, we'll take care of the remainder. With respect to a reserve, I know the board is aware that we have discussed a reserve. We have the right to place a reserve, not unlike what eBay does, put a reserve so it doesn't sell for too low. That is a matter the board has discussed. I won't reveal it here, but the county manager knows it, and if he directs that be included in the advertisement documents, we will do that. Otherwise, board members, if you have any questions, now is the time, but if you want to move forward, you could adopt this resolution, and that will set the wheels in motion.
So moved for 843 Canton Highway.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. And that motion carries with a vote of 5-0. Look at where we are. Counselor, is there a need for executive session this evening?
Madam Chair, all my items can wait till Tuesday.
Super duper. Is there a motion to recess the regular meeting, or excuse me, is there a motion to adjourn the regular meeting?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. We're out at 7:36. Woo!
This is TV Forsyth, your county connection.